Everyone thinks the finale killed 11. Because the crew escapes, the military grabs them, and 11 makes the choice no one wants her to make. She stays behind, and when the explosion hits, she's just gone. But here's the problem. In a show that loves closure, they never give you the one thing a real death needs: a body. Instead, the finale gives you something else: a story, a Dungeons and Dragons story. And inside that story is the exact loophole that explains why 11 is missing, and how Kaylee's trick makes the ending work. Let's start with what actually happens. The final battle ends, the kids are saved, and the Upside Down is about to be destroyed. But as everyone races back, the government is waiting on the other side. The exit isn't freedom anymore, it's a trap. That's when 11 pulls Mike into her mind for a goodbye. She tells him the truth. None of this will ever end, not if I'm still here. She's not talking about Vecna anymore. Vecna can die. The Mind Flayer can die. But the machine that created 11, that machine will never stop hunting her. And the moment the military realizes 11 is alive, it starts again. More labs, more tests, more kids. Therefore, 11 makes the most brutal choice possible. She removes herself from the world. She stays in the Upside Down while it explodes, so nobody can use her again. That's the surface level ending. But the finale immediately punches a hole in it. We jump forward 18 months. Everyone is alive, everyone is changed. And Mike is still broken, because he can't move on if 11's gone. So what does the show do? It puts the whole group back where it started, in a basement, around a table, playing D&D. And this is where the writers do something very sneaky. Mike becomes the dungeon master, and instead of rolling dice, he tells them what he chooses to believe. He says 11 and 8 had a plan. He says 8 cast a spell from far away, a spell of invisibility, and he says the person they saw die was an illusion. Read that again. The finale doesn't say 11 survived. It says, here is the exact method she could survive. And it hands it to you in D&D language on purpose. Because in D&D, this is a classic endgame move. When the party is about to lose the campaign, you don't beat the enemy with raw power. You beat them with a rule, a loophole, a spell interaction, a misdirection. Kelly has never been about brute force. She's not the fireball wizard. She's the illusion specialist. She doesn't smash the door. She makes the guard look the other way. Therefore, if 11 needed one final move that even the military couldn't predict, it would be Kaylee's move, not 11's. And this is why 11 is missing is the key phrase, not 11 is dead. Because the story doesn't end with a grave, it ends with a possibility. The camera cuts to 11, walking up a mountain overlooking 3 waterfalls, living in a small village where nobody knows she's alive. That scene is not random. That is the show saying, Mike's story might be true. But the Duffers don't confirm it. They leave it floating. Because the emotional point isn't the answer. The emotional point is the choice. Mike says, I choose to believe. And the party agrees. They choose to believe too. Now here's where this gets darker. Because Kaylee's illusion trick isn't only about hiding 11 from the military. It's also about something the finale confirms about Henry. For years, we argued over one question. Was Henry the puppet master, or was Henry the puppet? The finale gives you the twist. It shows Henry as a boy making contact with something older. Something that doesn't need Hawkins. Something that doesn't need Vecna. The Mind Flayer. And it reveals Henry didn't just become evil. He gets infected, linked, changed. He becomes a vessel, and that changes the entire meaning of the war. Because if the Mind Flayer can possess a human, twist them slowly, and use them like a tool, then Henry wasn't the final boss. He was the weapon. But here's the real twist. Even if Henry was possessed, he still made choices, and that's what makes him terrifying. Because it means you can't tell where the Mind Flayer ends and Henry begins. You can't tell what's real. And when your enemy's whole advantage is making reality uncertain, the only counter is illusion. That's why Kaylee matters in the final episode. Not as nostalgia, as logic. If the Mind Flayer's power is control, contamination, and deception, then the only way 11 survives is by becoming untouchable, untrackable, a ghost. Therefore, the illusion death isn't a cheap fake-out. It's the only move that matches the new rules. And those new rules get confirmed again in the biggest lore reveal of the finale. Because the show finally stops calling the Upside Down a world. It frames it like what many of us have been saying the whole time: a bridge, a wormhole, a corridor, not the final destination. The Upside Down is the space between Hawkins and something worse, the abyss. And the finale explains it like a campaign map. There's a connection point, a stabilizer, a power source, a single thing holding the wormhole open. Exotic matter, that swirling keystone keeping the corridor stable. So the plan isn't win the fight. The plan is collapse the bridge. That's why Hopper and Murray rigged the bomb to the record player. That's why the timer matters. That's why the music is literally the trigger. Because once the bridge collapses, the war ends forever. No gate, no hallway, no path back. Now connect the dots. If the Upside Down is a bridge and the bridge is about to be destroyed, then 11 staying behind isn't just sacrifice. It's camouflage. It's the perfect moment to disappear. Because everyone is watching the bridge collapse. Everyone is watching the explosion. Everyone thinks nothing can survive that. Therefore, if Kaylee creates an illusion at the exit, the military watches 11 die. And then the bridge collapses. There is no trail left to follow. No portal, no gate, no way to confirm. Which means 11 doesn't need to beat the military. She just needs to break their certainty. And Kaylee is the only character built for that. This is also why the finale ends the way it does. It doesn't give you a clean answer. It gives you a clean emotion. They defeat the monsters. They save the kids. They destroy the bridge, but they lose the magic. Because 11 is the magic of childhood in this story. And for the party to grow up, the magic has to go away. So the show hands you a choice. You can believe 11 died and the ending becomes a tragedy. Or you can believe Mike's D and D story and the ending becomes hope. But either way, the cost is the same. 11 can't come home. Not if the world is ever going to be safe. And if you've been watching my earlier breakdowns about the Upside Down not being a second world, but a structure with rules, this is the final payoff. The finale ends with a rules-based solution, not a miracle, a trick, a loophole, a spell. So here's the question that matters now. If 11 is alive, who is she living as? Because if Kaylee can fake a death once, she can fake an identity too. And that means the very last monster in Stranger Things isn't Vecna. It's the government, still searching, still lying, still building the next lab. And 11 staying missing might be the only way the party actually wins.